Well, good morning, everyone. It's time for Report to the Women with Jeanne, Hamm. And this is the show designed with you in mind, and we've a lot of interesting things to chat about, so stay right there, will you? Good morning, Jeanne.
Good morning, Lou.
Well, being a brand new personality on WWVA, and you're going to be a regular on this show, we're very happy to say. I wonder if you might give us a little thumbnail sketch of yourself for the benefit of those who are listening in this morning.
I'd be happy to, Lou. Happy? What am I saying? I'm married, and in case I refer occasionally to Bud, you'll know I'm talking about my husband.
Uh-huh.
And I have two sons. Jim is 17. Jim's a senior, of course, and a captain.
Uh-huh.
Johnny just entering in the 5th grade.
Oh, I see.
They could be in the same company. Now, can you imagine a small brother saying, yes, sir, no, sir, how do you do, sir? But it never did arise. We always worry about things that don't happen.
Uh-huh.
Well, I guess I'm a typical mother talking about her children.
I see. Well, that's the normal thing to do, and I think we all do that. And, of course, that puts you right in the good old club of motherhood, and many of the listeners, of course, are in that club, and that makes it all the more interesting. Jeanne, it's been a real pleasure for me, looking forward to the day when you'll start. I know you're new to radio, so how does it feel to be on radio?
Wow. Just plain wow. I think Mr. Webster doesn't have a word to fit me, but the kids do. You're all shook up.
All shook up?
Yeah. I hear mine say, oh, I'm all shook up. They just can't compare to this.
Well, I suppose this morning, then, you had some sort of preparation, say, at breakfast or something like that, too.
Well, if I'd had a little more time, I think I'd have scrubbed the floors and polished the furniture like mad. What do you do, Lou? You're a vet.
Well, when I come down to breakfast, I always get that cup out and make sure that everything's nice and hot, and we're ready to go with this.
I like those tiny little tea leaves in Tetley.
Tiny little tea leaves in Tetley tea, specially made for tea bags.
When I want flavor in a teacup, it's Tetley.
Flavor in a teacup, please get me Tetley.
It's my cup of tea.
I'd like to explain to you listeners out there that I was telling Jeanne, being new to this business, I said, now when that spot is over, he'll give us 2 more buzzes and then the light will go out. And she said, well, I always forget to look at that red ball up there, which is a light globe.
What's just a big old red ball to me. Oh, Lou, I had an interesting experience yesterday. I don't know if in Sunday's News Register you saw a clipping showing 4 ladies looking over beautiful Christmas gifts.
I did see that picture,
Did you?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Well, I thought I'd go down and investigate. The Ohio Valley General Hospital gift shop board are having this Christmas sale. Yesterday was the first day. Today's the second, and only one more day after today.
Oh, a 3-day sale.
3 days, uh-huh.
Well, what are they offering down there, Jeanne? That's one thing I'd like to know. I mean, can you buy storm windows or anything like that?
Well, no, not. This is in the gift item
I
department.
see.
You're strictly in the man's department there. Well, I saw gifts for everyone.
Oh.
Even baby.
Really?
And the prices ranged from 50 cents to $20.
Oh, well, there's something for everybody
Something for everyone, and it's all located on the 2nd floor of the building overlooking the garden.
I see. Well, now, one thing I was wondering about, I know that the hospital is pretty well crowded as a rule, and I hate the thought of parking my automobile 4 or 5 blocks away and then walking up there. Have they taken care of that
Completely.
at all? Have they?
I had the same feeling. I've gone down to the hospital and coasted around the block 2 or 3 times and wondered if I'd ever find a spot. But the sale starts at noon and continues until 4 o'clock.
Oh, I
Well,
see.
at that time, the doctors are not in the hospital, so they've used that parking lot.
I see.
And there's no trouble at all.
Well, now, tomorrow is Thursday, and of course, I know where all the doctors are on Thursday afternoon, out hitting that little white pellet. So
Why aren't we?
Yes. So I suppose that now that parking is no problem, I'd like to ask this question. The money that is realized from this 3-day sale at Ohio Valley General Hospital, what will that money be used for?
That is all for the hospital. I
see.
asked one of the ladies down there yesterday about that, if they had a particular project that they worked on. But as yet, they don't have one particular channel that they want their money money to reach.
I see.
It's just for the hospital itself.
Hmm. Well, speaking of hospitals, Jeanne, I don't suppose you would mind if I would inject a little news bulletin here for the benefit of all of our WWVA listeners. Lee Sutton and his wife, Eunice, who was also an employee here at the station, received their first child last night in the Martins Ferry Hospital, and it was a baby boy. And from everything we hear, Eunice and the child are getting along well. And the last I saw Lee, he was bearing up all right, too.
Cigars.
Yes.
You know, speaking of the hospital, I think it's really remarkable the number of women who give up their time to do volunteer work.
What is the name they call that group? There are several groups. There, Gray Ladies is one, isn't
Gray
it?
Ladies is one. In fact, a friend of mine, she's a neighbor of mine, and of course, Wednesday happens to be her day at the hospital.
Oh, really?
Jenny, I have a big feeling you're in a patient's room listening to the radio.
Well, many of them do listen in the hospital, and of course, we've always been very grateful for that. And that, of course, brings to thought or to mind the fact that there's a big laundry problem in any hospital. There's many.
Yeah,
dead
you know, I
sheets.
was wondering about that, Luke. What do you suppose they did before dryers came in?
Well, I think they used to hang the stuff on the roof, frankly. I think that used to be the routine.
Well, what about wintertime?
Well, I never thought of that.
Stiff
Shut
as
it down, I
boards,
guess.
you know how it would be.
But you know, the modern day, Jeanne, I don't have to tell you because I know that you've got several ideas on the use of an electric dryer that I never heard of before.
Like drying my hair yesterday?
Yes. We'll get to that just a little bit, but right now in Wheeling and Moundsville, in this vicinity, the Big V days are on. Now, V is for value, of course, and the values are in electric dryers. Now, the Wheeling Electric Company urges all of you ladies out there to, well, drop into your favorite appliance dealer or visit the Wheeling Electric Company and take a look at your favorite make of electric clothes dryer right now, and here's the reason. Because you never had a better time to buy your electric dryer than right now, and this is true because of many things, including these. Today's electric dryers are built better with more features than ever before, and today's electric dryers cost less than ever before, perhaps less than ever again. So it makes good sense to save dollars with an electric clothes dryer. You save on price, and you save on service, and goodness knows you save on operation. Now, in addition, we hope you'll keep this in mind, that you save on installation, because electric dryers need only one connection, and that's electricity. So be sure that you act right away during electric dryer value days. Save dollars instead of pennies. Remember that the Wheeling Electric Company urges you to see them or your favorite electric appliance dealer. And right here in Wheeling, Capital Radio has all of your favorite dryers. And I was talking to you before we went on the air, Jeanne, and you know Mrs. Camilletti, I'm sure.
Yes, down on Valley View Avenue.
Yes, and she wrote us a letter. Here it is here. Speaking of what the hospitals have done in the wintertime, Mrs. Camilletti has this to say in her letter. I have had soot blow in on the whole line of clothes and had to wash them all over again. So, in my 10 years of hanging clothes out on a line in the sun, I've had everything happen that has made women call wash day Blue Monday. So, that is one nice thing about electric dryers. Weather is no problem. Now, about drying your hair, just how did you go about that?
I just stuck my head in the door, opened the door, of course. But I did make a discovery yesterday.
What was that?
You wouldn't think that it would be possible to have a dryer for 8 years and not know what goes on with it. As I said, wanted to dry my hair.
Yes.
So I turned the knob, and it happened to go just as far as damp.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the air was cool.
I see.
And I thought, well, this is never going to do, and wondered why I wasn't getting hot air, so I turned it clear to dry.
Yeah.
Hot. Now, apparently that, of course, is part of the function of the dryer, to do the clothes that are a little bit more perishable, we'll say.
Gee, that tickles life out of me. I imagine it'd make a wonderful cartoon. Somebody with their head in the
It wasn't too
electric
uncomfortable, really.
dryer. Well, I imagine it did a fast job, too, didn't it?
Yes, it did. It was dry in a half an hour.
Mm-hmm. Well, that reminds me of the old gag about the babysitter that wanted to keep the kids quiet, so she stuck their head in the oven and turned on the gas.
I'm not with you.
Unfortunately, that actually happened.
Oh, dear.
So they fixed that, but good.
You know, Lou, this being day one, I had just some small difficulty going to sleep last night.
Oh, did you really?
I realized this morning what I should have done is do what the girls in Missouri do.
What is that?
They count boys instead of sheep.
Oh.
They figure that it's a little less boring. It might not work, but it's more fun, too.
You could start with the football team and run through that 11, then go to the basketball team for
Well,
five
I don't
more.
know how they, which boys they select.
You have an interesting thing there on getting to sleep, Jeanne. How about telling us about that?
Oh, this is a wonderful thing. Have you read Please Don't Eat the Daisies by Jeanne Kerr?
No, but I know of the story and I know of the authoress, and it's very
She
wonderful.
writes like I think to myself and couldn't express. And she says that anybody who has trouble sleeping may find here an expensive therapy, not guaranteed, but good. And I'd like to read you a little bit of what she says.
All right.
I found this in October Good Housekeeping.
Oh, good.
She said, seems to me I used to sleep better before we had all these conveniences. Lately, I find that just as I am sinking into that first sweet slumber of the night, I suddenly remember I forgot to take a roast out of the freezer. At this point, she says, I have two clear alternatives. I can pad down to the garage and get the roast, or I can lie there and figure out what else we could have for dinner. You know,
That's what I would
beef
do.
on toast. She says, either way, I'm now fully awake, bright-eyed and alert. Indeed, there seems to be a penetrating sharpness to my mind, a quickness that I never noticed in the daytime. The problem is to channel this alarming mental energy before she lapses back into the old disastrous habit of reviewing the low points of her life, like the time she swallowed an inlay in the oak room at the plaza or smashed a bottle of mineral oil in the elevator at Saks. Anyway, she discovered a way to make it pay off in terms of mental health. She just makes a list of all her irritations that have been nibbling away and composes dignified letters of protest.
Oh, I see.
She never intends to mail them. She just gets them out of her system, so to speak.
Just for her own fun, huh?
Yeah.
Well, you have some letters, haven't you, that you might read here after we hear this next message, Jeanne? How about that? We'll hear this first, though.
After your bath, the magic begins. The magic begins with Paquin silk and satin lotion. Softer than silk and smoother than satin, smoother than satin, your skin feels young. For the silk and satin magic has begun.
You know, that might be a thought. Use silk and satin before going to bed, and if you feel so wonderful, you'll no doubt just fall asleep. Maybe
I'll
she didn't know
try
about
it.
that.